Recorded.
Broadcasting live on AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota. In the evenings on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk, and in the nighttime hours in Seattle, 1150 AM KKNW. It is the Matt McNeil Show. Good to have you with us today on your Thursday, 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. A little bit of housekeeping. I am not going to be here tomorrow or on Monday, but have we got some humdingers for you set up here? Klopfleisch is going to be in here. Bruce Klopfleisch, right? He's going to be filling in tomorrow, I believe, and then Nancy Nelson on Monday. So there you go. Enjoy great quality content here. No best ofs here because, frankly, we couldn't find any. So, but you get quality programming here. I'll be back with a live show on Tuesday, and I imagine a story or two to tell about that. Patrick, how are we today?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good here. I'm going to start off with something today in the realm of sports. And for us here in the Twin Cities, we're somewhat happy because the Timberwolves last night in the NBA, that would be the National Basketball Association, the Timberwolves knocked out the LA Lakers 4-1 in Game 5, and they got that, and yeah, go team go. They get to wait for the winner of the Golden State Houston series to see who they take on next. And I feel somewhat jubilant. I feel happy. Rudy Gobert, nice game and all that good stuff. I'm not bringing this up because I want to get into it. We're not a sports station, but I have to bring up something that the second I saw this, there's just something there was a clarity that hit me in regards to all this, because we've talked about the perils of sports betting and how it's everywhere. And something really hit me last night after the Timberwolves did win. By the way, how much money did you wager on what were you picking the Lakers to take it all here?
I lost $1 million.
Oh, wow. Well, that's not good.
Yeah, just subtract the 1 and you have the amount of money that I bet on this.
0. There you go. Okay. I did not bet anything on this either. But there's a story, and this is up on ESPN right now. Entering the playoffs, more money had been wagered on the Lakers to win the finals. I'll come back to that in a second. Finals and on any other team in multiple sports books. That money will be staying with the house. Everyone lost. The Lakers bowed out of the NBA playoffs in the first round Wednesday, losing to the T-Wolves in 5 games. There are nearly 200 under 200 favorites to beat the Timberwolves. Attracted lopsided support from bettors to win the series. Lakers in 6 was the most popular betting option on the series on ESPN Bet. ESPN Bet. The Lakers were a hot bet throughout the season, and the action on sportsbooks increased significantly after the midseason trade for Luka. The Lakers' title odds shortened from 40-1 to 13-1 at some sportsbooks after the blockbuster trade, as action on the revamped roster poured in at sportsbooks. ESPN Bet said that more NBA futures bets were placed on the day after the trade than any other single day since the season started. Nearly 50% of all the bets were on the Lakers to win it all. The betting support continued throughout the regular season, and by the time the playoffs tipped off, more than a quarter of the money bet on sportsbooks FanDuel odds to win the finals was on the Lakers. LA had the second shortest odds to win the Western Conference behind OKC, which was heavily favored to go to the finals as well. The largest reported finals bet, MGM Bet, was on the Lakers for $100,000 at 10-1 odds. Well, you didn't need that money, I guess. Now, first of all, I'm going to tell you that I am not the biggest sports guy. I will clearly concede a lot of people know more about sports than I do. I will say in this day and age, the vast majority of sports people are just garbage. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. They just don't. The sports reporters and the sports people I knew when I was younger seem to be much more understanding that the whole gig wasn't just about one thing, that you talked about sports as a whole. And granted, we didn't have 24-hour sports networks. I remember the first time I saw ESPN, it was kind of like, wow, this is kind of cool. Australian rules football. Whoever knew that even existed? But back in the day when I was a kid, there wasn't this constant bet. I mean, sure, you had Jimmy the Greek, but even sports broadcasts, even pregames, would not want to. They would say, well, this team is favored to win, but they wouldn't talk about they're favored by 5 to win. And the quarterback's favored to throw 3 touchdowns, so they wouldn't do that. Today, that's all this is. But you see the crushing amount of pressure to cover certain things in the sports realm. In October, ESPN is just garbage television because the first 20 minutes of any broadcast are the Dallas Cowboys. The next 10 minutes are the New York Yankees. Well, the Yankees, if they're in the playoffs, will be the number 1 story. But, usually if they're not, then they fall to number 2. Then come the Lakers and their preseason action. And then everything else is on a scroll. Here's every other sporting event that just happened. We're done. Back to the Cowboys. So the leagues, they play favorites because that's just who they are, and they favor this. Which leads me to ask the question, did they all just set you up? And I'm dead serious. Did all these sports broadcasters set you up? Because I can say this. Now, I didn't think the Timberwolves were going to win in 5 games. I thought it was going to go to a game 7, and I did have a feeling that the T-Wolves could win that. And the reason why is something simple. And once again, I want to be very clear here. I am not a sports expert. The Lakers have no bench, man. They've not had a bench all year. The Lakers don't have a bench. The first guy off the T-Wolves bench is Naz Reid, for God's sakes. He was the 6th man of the year last year. You have to have bench people that can come out and score. They also don't have a center who can score to save themselves. And last night was proof. They went with a smaller lineup, and Rudy Gobert absolutely chewed him up. So you'd say to yourself, okay, wait a second here. So how did a team with no real shooting center and absolutely zero bench get picked to be get ready to hang another banner? How did that happen? I can tell you exactly how that happened. Every single sports broadcaster in this country, with whether it's ESPN and looking at their ESPN network, the ESPN Bet Network, or the MGM Grand, all these, every one of them, what was the deal? Here is your stone cold steel pipe lock of a pick. They were all talking about guaranteed wins. The Lakers are going to just dominate this. And there is no delineation anymore. And so now you have your favorite sports broadcaster basically out there telling you, hey, you might as well go put some money on this because the Lakers can't lose. Well, the Lakers can lose because you were filtering it through a fan base where you're already playing favorites because they're one of the more popular sports teams in the country. So you didn't want to actually cover the team legitimately and say, well, this actually could be a tough matchup. The Lakers only finished 1 game ahead of the T-Wolves, and the T-Wolves have a much better bench. And the Lakers have the worst 3-point shooting of any team percentage-wide in the league in the playoffs. So this could be a problem. You didn't want to report any of that because you didn't want to make your Laker fans feel bad. So where does the line get crossed? You're pandering to a certain fan base, while at the same time, every ad on your freaking networks is bet. Are you a Lakers fan? Bet. There seems to have been a massive level. You don't get these kind of numbers. Once again, I want to say this. What was it? Half? Entering the playoffs, more money had been wagered on the Lakers to win the finals than on any other team on multiple sports books. The Lakers, the 3 seed in the West, with no bench, bad 3-point shooting, and no good center. How does that even happen? And once again, I get it. Hey, I like my local sports teams up here in the Twin Cities. but I don't bet on them. But, sure, you're a Twins fan. You go to Vegas, you throw down $10 at the beginning of the season for them to win, good luck with that. I would not recommend that, but fine. That's what you want to do. You want to be a little hometown person, but that's not it. Now we have these sports entities, these sports betting entities where it's constant bet. It's no longer putting a bet on the game. You've got to be doing, we have instant bets. Will this next pass be a touchdown? Will this next shot be a three-pointer? Who will take the three-pointer? $100, you could win big. You could win big. On top of it, the other side of it, the Lakers are the greatest team that's ever existed because of the pandering of the network and the desire by the sports entities, the betting entities, to get money into the coffers. The fix was in. And I'll call it that. I'll say that. They duped you. And here's this, and this goes way beyond sports. There are thousands and thousands of people who are wagering money they don't have because they're being told your favorite team can't lose. Bet. And this is, in my mind, it would be like if you're addicted to meth and the meth guy stops by your house and says, here you go. Who wants more meth? Right here, delicious meth. Becomes a little hard for you to kind of get away from it, doesn't it? Everything is about sports betting now. This whole story doesn't make any damn sense unless the entire system is rigged to basically sucker you in. They're hoping the Dallas Cowboys make a run. They're hoping the New York Yankees make a run. They're hoping, pick your favorite, hockey team makes a run. They're hoping these teams make a run so that people bet, not because they're covering it legitimately as far as sports goes anymore. No, they're basically herding the sheep to the slaughter. That's what's happening. This is actually really bad, okay? What happened yesterday is really bad because this was almost a concerted effort by the sports networks and the betting agencies to basically push as many people as possible into risky bets that they should have told them that was not worth the bet from the get-go. But hey, who doesn't love the Lakers? We'll take a break. It's the Matt McNeil Show.
Greg Bakken here. Like you, I love good, fresh, delicious food. So I want to tell you about this treasure in Roseville called Maverick's Real Roast Beef. Maverick's has the best roast beef sandwiches I've ever had. Made fresh every order. Add fries or onion rings dropped in the fryer when ordered, and you have a winning combination. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has a lot more than roast beef, so check out their website, mavericksbeef.com, or check out their restaurant on Lexington in Roseville.
Hey, it's Patrick. Spring showers may bring May flowers, but they also bring big savings with Zero Res. And right now, you can beat the spring cleaning rush with big savings and priority booking by calling our heroes at Zero Res. Zero Res removes winter's buildup and lingering odors, giving your home a fresh, spring-ready feel, preparing your home for the brighter days ahead. Just check out the almost 21,000 raving customer service reviews online with a 4.9 Google rating and see what all the hype is about. This month, get 3 rooms Zero Resified from Minnesota's #1 carpet cleaner starting at just $119 and take $75 off an air duct cleaning as well. You owe it to yourself and your family to breathe healthy, happy, and clean. Call Zero Res right now at 9520-RES or go online to ZeroResMinnesota.com and say you want the AM 950 special. Spell it backward or forward, it's the same. Zero Res.
When was the last time you had your roof inspected for extreme weather and hail damage? This is Chad, owner of AM 950, to talk about the exterior construction company I trust, Snap Construction. If you've noticed new roofing projects in your neighborhood, your home was likely hit by hail last summer and experienced damage. Snap Construction is helping homeowners like you, and they're the roofing specialists I trust. They are the most well-reviewed contractor in the Twin Cities and have a ton of positive customer reviews from homeowners just like you. Even better, Snap Construction's installations are backed by a lifetime warranty, so you know you're dealing with a qualified roofing expert. You want to work with a company that will be here for a long time after the work is done. Snap Construction has handled thousands of claims and will help you through the process. Do yourself a favor and get a free roofing inspection so you have the facts and peace of mind you deserve. Call Snap Construction today at 612-333-SNAP. That's 612-333-SNAP. Or visit snapconstruction.com.
Turn to Auto Technical with your vehicle donation. We have families waiting for a car. You know, over 85% of unemployed are successful in finding and keeping a job if they have dependable transportation. A car plus a job equals a life changed. 612-919-5526. We have families waiting for a car. 919-5526 or autotech.org.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. By the way, I am not against a complete bumper music of Rush music. Okay, we're 2 for 2 here. Let's see, maybe we can do more on this. I'm all for that. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205 is the phone number. I'm dead serious. If you step back now and you look at that series, the question everyone should be asking is, why did anyone think the Lakers were going to just slam dunk the T-Wolves? Why did everyone who was making all these calls saying Lakers are going to win, Lakers are going to win, ignoring the fact that Lakers actually had some pretty big problems? And then you look at the money that was spent on the sports books. Yeah. Speaking of gambling, Trump's economy. There you go. How about that? Financial expert Steve Ratner had nothing good to say about Trump's economy based on the latest economic news, then predicated things are about to get a lot worse. Now, 2 things I want to say about the economy. And first of all, I want to say, for everyone that's listening to me, I want to thank you because I have tried to dive deep into the economics element of this administration because nobody else is really. You're seeing some stories that come on out, but no one is talking about, in my mind, on a consistent basis, the real negatives that are coming to light because of Trump's reckless and frankly dangerous policies. He makes the comment yesterday. What was it about dolls? Yeah, he said you might have to have $2 instead of $30. Okay, he's saying this because there is a legitimate problem with toy retailers in this country. The vast majority of our toys, non-electric toys like board games and puzzles and dolls, and I in my town there's a cutesy little toy store in town there that sells a lot of cute little things. It's a great place to go get gifts when, especially you got a baby shower or a young kid's birthday or something like that. Perfect place. Love that. The vast majority of all those products come from China. The vast majority. And even the ones that are assembled here in the United States, a majority of their parts are coming to the United States to be assembled or be put together or packaged from China. So this tariff policy he's put into place, the toy retail industry is freaking out. So that's a big problem. So when he sits there and says, you don't need to have $30, you can have 2. Well, first of all, that's you basically saying, if someone wants to go out and get $30 for their kid, well, more power to them. But I will say this. Do you think that most people on a fixed income have their kids have $30? No. No, they don't. That is a complete lack of understanding of the day-to-day economy of the average working family in this country, as well as it also is such a flippant statement to tell everybody, stop buying toys at toy makers, which is what they're saying. Stop buying toys at toy stores. Give your kids a knife and a stick. They'll make some snakes, that sort of thing. They are desperately trying to portray this economy in a positive light. And a lot of the journalists that are out there covering it are desperately trying to do it as well. I will say this. clearly there is some market manipulation when it comes to the stock markets out there, where it's people right now trying to pour money into it to get dupes to say, oh, everything's fine, buy stock. They sell out and they sell high. And then when everything collapses, they buy low. That is where things are looking like they're going to be going. It's very similar to what happened in 2008, where really in 2006, late 2006, there were some really big warning signs that things were about to take a big turn, but the industry itself kept propping it up and propping it up and propping it up. And finally, when the deck of cards collapsed, boom, it went south, and it went south really quickly. Trust me, when you look at long-term economic indicators, not a single one of them is showing green for Trump right now. Every one of them is not just showing red, but like deep red. That this is, and my gut suspicion is we are headed for a depression, not a recession. My gut suspicion is we are headed for a depression, not a recession. Because you can't put this much weight on this. When this whole house of cards comes down this time, it's going to come down. It's going to come down hard. Of course, so Donald Trump will blame Joe Biden for it. Standing before an array of charts, the Morning Joe regular, Steve Ratner, pointed to indicators that consumer confidence is actually in collapse. Wall Street is in turmoil because of the president's trade tariff war. After noting Trump was not the president for the entire 90 days of the recently concluded quarter, Ratner told the co-host, when you strip it all apart, it does appear the economy grew by a couple percent in the first quarter. That would put on Biden when Biden was the president for a month on that. But then that was the economy Trump inherited. So I'd give Biden credit for what was actually not bad in the GDP numbers. What we look at ahead is where the job numbers were yesterday from ADP. We're going to get another jobs number this Friday, but the ADP number that came out yesterday showed roughly half as many jobs being created last month as the month before. So you have to start seeing some effects of Trump. But looking ahead, it's all bad news. There's no gloom out. There's nothing but gloom out there in the business and investment community, he admitted. This is going bad. I find it funny. It's like when they say, Trump says, oh, we are making so much money on the tariffs. Well, then why are you trying to get trade deals? If you're making so much money on the tariffs, the trade deals would take the money away, right? Well, yeah. Well. Or as Jess Piper down in Missouri pointed out, and just a great post. She said, wait a second, weren't you the same people that said if you raise the minimum wage that it was going to increase prices and that was unacceptable, but raising tariffs and raising prices is okay with you? Exactly. Trump basically is, whenever there's a piece of positive economic news, that was all Donald Trump. I mean, he was saying that back in June of last year. But we're going to get 4 years of him screaming, Joe Biden. It was Joe Biden did this to me. And, you could have China literally come on out and say, no, this wasn't Joe Biden. This was Donald Trump. When Donald Trump decided to become an absolute idiot with the tariffs and trade, that he caused this to collapse. And this is what is going on. It's all Donald Trump. Donald Trump will say, see, Joe Biden. That's the kind of guy he is. Apparently, when he did this interview with The Atlantic, the guy came away and said the thing which was bizarre is how Trump constantly said, I'm so much better than Joe Biden. I'm so much better than Joe Biden. I'm so much better than Joe Biden. You're not even close. You're way deep in the shadows of Joe Biden at this point. They might have a stock du jour that is, look at this stock is doing great. But when you see stuff like same store sales at McDonald's are down to the level of 2020 when the pandemic kept everyone indoors, and that's how far they've dropped in same store sales, that's a blue collar. There is a huge red flag. That is a huge red flag. And most of the stuff I'm seeing, that's just one thing, but I'll tell you what, all the foundational elements, all the foundational markets of this country, they're all cracked, and they're cracked deeply, thanks to Donald Trump. It's the Matt McNeil Show.
Hey, Minnesota, it's your favorite sexy liberal. Join me and my fellow cohorts in liberal justice weekdays from 8 to 11 on AM 950 KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
I love my Toyotas from Rudy Luther Toyota for one simple reason. I can depend on them. You know they keep you safe, and they're incredibly reliable, fuel-efficient, comfortable, and stylish. The Consumer Reports Best of 2025 edition has 10 Toyotas as best buys in affordability. Toyotas are some of Consumer Reports' highest-rated certified pre-owned vehicles, and Rudy Luther Toyota's service department is the one place I take my CNF for all of its maintenance needs. Toyotas are fantastic vehicles because they're fantastic vehicles. See for yourself at Rudy Luther Toyota off of 394 in Golden Valley.
Hey, it's Jennifer from AM 950. I'm 57, and lately I've definitely been feeling it. Lower back pain, hip aches, brain fog, and serious lack of energy. That's when I decided to try Hypercharge Wellness, and I'm so glad I did. At Hypercharge Wellness, they focus on proactive wellness and medication-free solutions to help you feel better and live healthier. Their FDA-approved light therapy helped reduce my chronic pain and inflammation, and the results have been nothing short of life-changing. My back pain and stiffness are improving, and I'm finally starting to feel like myself again. They also offer laser therapy that targets muscles and joints, perfect for injury recovery and pain management. Whether you're dealing with fatigue, chronic pain, or mental fog, Hypercharge Wellness has treatments designed just for you to boost energy, improve clarity, and reduce inflammation. Take control of your health and wellness today with their $49.99 introductory session and consultation at any of their 3 locations. Visit hyperchargeclinic.com for more information.
Hi, I'm Peter Solak.
And I'm Adam Ostrowski.
We are here at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces to talk about outdoor fires. Sitting around a fire is the oldest, most basic form of human activity.
What's new is in the way fire is burned. We can show you how to burn cleaner with a lot less smoke.
The radiant heat and light from an open fire is unmatched. It kindles our spirits and connects us to the outdoors. And now it's easier to experience and enjoy.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces sells and installs wood and gas burning fire pits and fireplaces. Let us help you experience an outdoor fire without all the smoke.
Come see the many ways you can enjoy a fire outdoors.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces has over 35 working wood and gas units on display at the corner of East Franklin and Riverside Avenue in Minneapolis. More information at woodlandstoves.com. Find the fire that works for you. Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, out of the ordinary products and services since 1977.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for cloudy skies today with a high near 65. Tonight, showers and storms with a low around 45. And Friday, cloudy with a high near 56. Since 1984, Cafe Latte has been serving up the freshest baked goods and modern comfort food in a cafeteria setting. Their menu is prepared with the best ingredients available. Cafe Latte is a leader in sustainable dining, composting their food and paper waste along with recycling everything they can. More at cafelatte.com. You're listening to AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Broadcasting in the evenings in Chicago on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk, in Seattle in the late night hours, 11:50 a.m., KKNW, and of course in Minneapolis, St. Paul on AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota. It's the Matt McNeil Show. Good to have you with us here today. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. So, yeah, I was going to talk about some other things, but man, I got to go with this bonkers story out of Australia. Okay. So yeah, sometimes we need a kind of maybe this is the wrong term, palate cleanser of a story. But this one just popped up. I was reading the BBC this morning, and this one popped up, and I'm like, oh my. And I kind of been thinking about it all day. And I said, you know what? Yeah, I could talk about the latest crap fest from Trump. And trust me, there's not going to be any shortage of that. Now, I'm not saying we don't pay attention to it, but you'll understand when I get here, because it's been a while since we've had a case like this. That dingo's got my baby. Well, no, not really, but put this in an Australian accent. The estranged husband of a woman who served a poisonous mushroom lunch to her family says what? It was very rare for her to hold social gatherings at home. Well, I would understand why. I mean, you're bringing out the poison on Ritz. It's a little bit hard to convince people to come on over. So let me get the woman that served the poisonous mushroom meal. You're saying she doesn't have a lot of get-togethers? Okay, all right. Simon Patterson was invited for the fatal meal prepared by Aaron Patterson, but decided not to attend the day before. Mr. Patterson is the first witness in the trial of Mrs. Patterson, who is charged with murder of 3 relatives and the attempted murder of another, with the case centering on a beef Wellington lunch at her house on July 2023. Miss Patterson, 50 years old, has pled not guilty, and her defense team said she panicked after unintentionally serving poison to family members she loved. Yeah, buckle up. There's a little bit of a trip on this one. 3 people died in the hospital in the days after the meal, including Mrs. Patterson's former in-laws, Don Patterson and Gail Patterson. So this is her ex-husband or her estranged husband's parents, as well as her sister, as Gail's sister, the mother-in-law's sister, Heather Wilkinson, 66. Local pastor Ian Wilkinson, pastor. She tried to poison, allegedly, a pastor. He did survive after weeks of treatment in the hospital. The jury has been shown text messages exchanged between Simon and Aaron Peterson the day before their deadly mushroom lunch. I mean, I have a hard time passing up a beef Wellington. I mean, they're delicious. You know, if you really want to take me out pound for pound, I think that's your bet. That or maybe a Juicy Lucy. Oh, that would be, yeah. This tastes a little funny, but I would have died happy. How about I say it like that? I would have died happy. I would have been at Gordy's up in Cloquet with a blackberry malt, some of the onion rings, one of their all-American burgers, face down on the table, saying, well, you look at the smile on his face. You can't deny it. Damn right. Ooh, the hot fudge coffee malt from the convention grill. There you go. That's how you take me out. Down goes McNeil. Anyway, not trying to give anyone any ideas now. Come on. Mr. Patterson said, hey, Matt, do you want to pay the bill before you eat here? Because, just a new process here. You want to cover your tab here? I wouldn't even question it. I really wouldn't. Sure, here you go. Mr. Patterson said in court on Thursday he felt too uncomfortable about attending the lunch. Aaron Patterson responded, that's really disappointing. I spent many hours this week preparing lunch for tomorrow. It's important to me that you're all there tomorrow and that I can have the conversation that I need to have. Okay. The prosecution alleges Mrs. Patterson invited the group to lunch on the pretense she'd been diagnosed with cancer. The court in Morwell, Regional Victoria, heard that between the couple's marriage in 2007 and separation in 2015, there are a number of periods of separation and reconciliation, including Aaron Patterson leaving her husband and their baby son in the middle of a road trip across Australia in 2009. Patterson had to drive from Townsville to Perth, the distance of about 3,000 miles alone with the child, he told the court. Where did she go? I've seen maps. It's not like you're halfway out to Perth. It's not like there's a lot of great places to stop. The couple met in 2002 while both working at Monash City Council, where Mr. Patterson was a civil engineer. Asked about his wife, Mr. Patterson said, Aaron is very intelligent. Some of the things that attracted me to her in the first place is definitely her intelligence. She's quite witty and she can be quite funny. He went on to add, no, he didn't, but I'll say it. Yeah, and boy, does she know poisons. Wow. Okay, I'm laughing. I'm a jerk. 3 people are dead. She tried to kill a pastor. Allegedly. Oh, and wow. Is that almond flavor I taste? Anyway, no, sorry. Asked about how his wife got on with his parents, Don and Gail Patterson, who are both dead now because allegedly she killed them. Mr. Patterson said she especially got on with Dad. They shared a love and knowledge of learning in the world. With his voice faltering, Mr. Patterson added, "I think she loved his gentle nature." He said Mrs. Patterson held a university degree in business and accounting, was also qualified as an air traffic controller, having worked with Melbourne's Tullamarine Airport. Really? Okay. Mr. Patterson is due in court again on Friday to take more questions from prosecutors, which just reminded me of the timeline. Yeah, he'll probably be at any time now because it's Friday in Australia at this point. So, yeah, he'll probably be taking the stand fairly soon here. Mr. Patterson painted a picture of a relationship peppered with periods of separation, the first within the first 2 years of marriage, at one point becoming emotional and asking for tissues. After the final separation, there was a lot of communication by text messaging, he said, including banter and talk about politics, he said. But there was a change in the relationship in 2022 when Mrs. Patterson was upset when her husband listed himself as separated on his tax return. The chatty nature of the relationship pretty much stopped after this, Patterson said, with communication now only about the practical management of the family life. Wearing a navy suit, white shirt, purple tie, he told the court that Mrs. Patterson received a substantial inheritance from her grandmother, which Mr. Patterson estimated at around $1.3 million, about £1 million. Though it was not paid in a lump sum, was dribbled out by the executors of the estate. Still, that's not bad. You should be, So there you go. And once again, and this is Mrs. Patterson. This is the alleged poisoner getting the money. The jury has heard there is no dispute that the lunch with beef Wellington, mashed potatoes, and green beans contained death cap mushrooms and caused the guests' illnesses. Yeah, I don't think that's something on the store shelf. I'm going to guess, hey, death cap mushrooms in gravy. Yum. I should not be giving people some ideas. I should not be saying this. Everyone likes gravy. Yeah, okay. So death cap mushrooms. So, if you know beef Wellington, what that is basically, I got a nice cut of meat, a prime, boneless, cut of prime meat. You kind of cover it in mustard and then chopped mushrooms that have been cooked and rendered down, and then you wrap it in pastry, and it's delicious. If it's done right, it's actually really well done. It's fantastic. Not well done as cooked, but just brilliantly tasty. So clearly what they're talking about here is that the mushroom medley inside, a little shiitake, maybe a little button, some death cap. Why not? Whether Mrs. Patterson intended to kill or cause very serious injury is the main issue of the case, the judge has told the jury. The court heard the couple had married in 2007, had 2 children together, though separated permanently in 2015. They remained amicable during family holidays, though there was a falling out over child support payments in 2022. The jury was told during the prosecution's opening statement on Wednesday, lead barrister Nanette Rogers said the jury would hear evidence that Mrs. Patterson had traveled to a location near her home in Leongatha where death cap mushrooms sightings had been logged in by naturalist website. Okay, Australia. We were out there in the wild and we saw some sightings of some death cap mushrooms. Why didn't you tear them down wearing some, gloves? Australia, where half the things down there can kill you. So apparently and I'm guessing what they do is the naturalists put this out there saying, hey, if you're scavenging for something that's not going to kill you, don't go here because, Australia. And death cap mushrooms are growing in the wild. She traveled to the location to where the death cap mushrooms had been sighted. And in the days after the lunch, she took a number of steps to conceal what she had done, the prosecutors allege. There had been evidence that she had lied to investigators about the source of the mushrooms in the dish, saying some had come from an Asian grocery in Melbourne, and she had never foraged wild ones. And by the way, way to try to paint your attempted poisoning, allegedly, as also with a racist tinge. Nice. And she made a trip to a local dump to dispose of the food dehydrator prosecutors said she used to prepare the toxic meal. That sounds a little bit fishy. You just make a special trip out to dispose of the food dehydrator. Mrs. Patterson's barrister has said she did not deliberately serve poisoned food to her guests. The defense case is that she panicked because she overwhelmed by the fact that these 4 people had become so ill of the food she had served them. The court heard how Mr. Patterson spoke to his father in the morning after the lunch and discovered both his parents had been up since midnight with vomiting and diarrhea, and they had called an ambulance. And after trying to call his aunt and uncle, Heather and Ian Wilkinson, he went over to their home when they did not answer. Ian answered the door. He looked gray and spooked. Mr. Patterson recalled, yeah, he was struggling. He said, how are you? He said, not good. Mr. Patterson then saw Heather Wilkinson sitting on the couch. He said, she looked pretty crook. Okay. She had a container and a spew bucket. Wow. She full Monty Python. After Mr. Wilkinson left the room, Heather spoke to him. He confirmed after questioning from prosecutor Dr. Rogers, we didn't have much conversation, but she was puzzled, and she had said, I noticed Erin served herself food on a colored plate, which was different than the rest. Wow. I acknowledged I heard her, and I did not progress it as a conversation because she had been told an ambulance would be taking her in an hour to arrive. Mr. Patterson drove a couple to the hospital in Wilkinson's car, where Heather Wilkinson raised the subject once more. She mentioned the colored plate. She asked me if Erin's short of crockery. Is that why she would have a different colored plate that she served herself? Oh, she's already sniffing this one out. Unfortunately, she passed away. I can't remember the exact phrase, but it was something like that. And what did you reply? The prosecutor asked. I said, yes, Erin doesn't have that many plates. That might be the reason. Mr. Patterson became emotional again, describing going to see his parents at a hospital where they were in the same room but in separate beds. Dad was substantially worse than Mom. He was really struggling, he said, fighting back tears. She was lying on her side. He was lying on his side. He was hunched quite noticeably and really discolored face, struggling to speak. Speaking was an effort. Taking the energy to speak was an effort. His voice was strained in a way that he wasn't right. He was in pain. Wow. And the part 2 comes today. Wow. I'll tell you what. I'm obviously going to be gone tomorrow and Monday. Tuesday, I'll give an update on this case. But my God, it sure sounds like she did it. The fact that they're already catching her up in inconsistencies, that even some farmer market would have death cap mushrooms just in their wares. Yikes, man. Yikes. Take a break, come back. It's the Matt McNeil Show.
Women, are you ready to empower your wellness? Join Hypercharge Health and Skin Deep Aesthetics for an inspiring evening dedicated to your holistic well-being. It's Empower Your Wellness, an evening for women, happening Tuesday, May 13th from 6 to 9 o'clock p.m. at 7450 France Avenue South, Suite 240 in Edina. This exclusive event is your opportunity to explore innovative approaches to health and beauty with insights from a panel of wellness professionals. Topics include integrative medicine, personalized concierge care, hormone balance for energy and sexual wellness, aesthetics and body contouring to boost confidence, and support for your mental and emotional well-being. Come learn, connect, and take meaningful steps toward a more vibrant, empowered you. Tickets are just $75, and the full amount can be applied toward a future service. Space is limited, so don't wait. Reserve your spot now at hyperchargehealth.com or call 952-247-4785. Empower your wellness because your health, confidence, and peace of mind matter.
This Mother's Day, treat Mom to what she wants. The Park Tavern. It's the Mother's Day Brunch Buffet. On May 11th from 10 to 2:30 p.m., treat Mom to a fantastic meal of roast beef, chicken, smoked salmon, salads, a full breakfast, and more. $24.95 for adults. Seniors and kids under 12 are $19.95. Kids 5 and under are free, and Mom and the kids will love the hour of free bowling with every reservation. And remember, you need a reservation. For reservations, call 952-929-6810. On May 11th, make wonderful Mother's Day memories with the Park Tavern.
This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, weekdays at 5 p.m. On our show, you'll hear about Native issues like treaties, protecting Mother Earth, and holding our elected officials accountable. Weekly correspondents like Dr. Stately, State Senator Mary Kunesh, Robert Lilligren and Bob Blake update us with the latest news from Turtle Island. Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues. Listen weekdays at 5 p.m. or watch the show on Native Roots Radio social media accounts. Ho-wah!
Are your remote workers putting your company at risk? Not sure what steps to take to secure your data? Hi, Mark Sommerfeld from Rymark. The Rymark team is guiding our clients through these difficult times. In fact, demand has been so high, we created an easy-to-follow guide with the 5 steps to securely work from home. It's yours free. Download our 5 steps to securely work from home now at rymarkit.com or call 651-328-8900 for a no-cost how-to discussion.
Would you let animals pick your insurance? Do you really need to experience mayhem to get the best rates? Or how about a celebrity quarterback or fake university saving you money? There's a lot of marketing stunts when it comes to insurance, but what you really need is someone looking out for you. Call Array Insurance, and they will work hard to find you the best insurance coverage and rates. So avoid gimmicks and call Cheryl at Array, 763-504-3067 or arrayinsurance.com. Array Insurance, working hard for you.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. To tell you how clueless I am, you could have brought the poison beef Wellington on like the one glowing plate, had like lights on the plate. Everyone else, I don't know why I got the special plate, but this is delicious. Wouldn't have even crossed my mind. Face down in the beef Wellington, huh? As Dr. Joe said, our good friend down in Australia, Dr. Jaffe. Yeah, I don't think I don't know what he could have done for him. Yeah. Now I'm like reading a good book. I can't wait to read the testimony from today. Tomorrow in Australia. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. There is I want to bring up, and this is just one story that I saw earlier this week, and it's important to me to bring this up in regards to a completely separate issue, but this is an Axios story, so take that at whatever, where nursing homes rely most on Medicaid. And once again, the entire argument the Republicans have, and 76% of Americans do not want them cutting Medicaid. But that's their goal, is they're going to cut Medicaid to give billionaires more tax breaks. That's what they're going to do. The fine folks of Illinois, you are one of the lowest rates where nursing homes rely most on Medicaid. You are actually at 42.1% of nursing home residents were on Medicaid in 2022, 42.1. Minnesota, where I'm at here, is 49.8, so still under 50%. And we are some of the better states on this. As a matter of fact, Virginia is a little bit better. Vermont has only got 27% of residents on Medicaid. But the rest of the country doesn't do as well. As a matter of fact, most of the rest of the country is well above 50%. Washington State, Seattle, hello, 55.7% of your nursing home residents were on Medicaid in 2022. The worst states, Mississippi is at 72.7%. So almost 3/4 of all nursing home residents are on Medicaid in 2022. In West Virginia, it's 78%. In Alaska, it's 73.4%. Those are the 3 worst states. There comes a point, we have talked a few times, and here's where I'm going to make a pivot here. We have talked a few times about how there is this rising swell within the Democratic Party about the reluctance of the Democratic Party to look in the mirror and see that this whole embracing of moderate Republicans that have merged into the party has not done us any favors. And this blind allegiance to these Democrats who only vote with the Democrats 30% of the time is head-scratching at best, if not just a stupid, boneheaded plan. That we should have Democrats who, God forbid, are proud Democrats. That's the way I feel about it. And a lot of people in this party have felt that way too. And no, this isn't just the super duper progressive side. No, I'm a middle of the road Democrat, and I am tired of my party pandering and begging and saying, we can't overreach even the stuff the public really wants us to do, because those 3 House members and those 2 senators will say they're going to go to the other side of the aisle and undermine us. Well, then let's get rid of them. Primary them. Done. But we'll lose those seats. Well, first of all, you can't say that. You shouldn't say that. Second of all, because Democrats got elected there for a reason at one point. And second of all, that's a really poor reason to basically undermine 60 to 70% of your party's platform. One guy. Stop it. There's also a chronic problem with the Democrats right now in regards to messaging. And that's where I'm going to go back to this Medicaid. I mean, you should be plastering billboards across the country in every Republican district saying 76% of the country do not want them cutting Medicaid. You should be plastering that on billboards across the country in every red district. I'll just use Minnesota. Tom Emmer wants to kill Medicaid. That's all you have to put. You don't have to put, you're in an 80-page strongly worded memo with footnotes and an appendix. You don't have to do that. Tom Emmer wants to kill Medicaid. Done. Billboard. Over. It is so toxic for them. How is the Democratic Party right now screwing this messaging up so badly? I mean, you're to the point where what I think is happening is the guys like David Hogue and AOC and Bernie Sanders and Tim Walz and Governor Pritzker down in Illinois and these others that Cory Booker, these people are stealing the reason why they are shining so much is the rest of the Democratic Party is just sitting there clenching their butt cheeks and basically saying, well, in case Donald Trump gets really angry, I'm tired of it. You see the Democrats protesting a lot right now. You see them out there trying their hardest to do what they can to make themselves voices heard. And you respond to that with silence. I've had 1 or 2 Democrats reach out to my show since the election. Hardly anyone from any party has called me. I can tell you I have talked with other progressive radio hosts in this country. No one seems to be calling them either. Doesn't seem to be a real big interest in anyone fighting, at least from the party standard. And this is not the hardest fight. They are low-hanging fruit. You can get some haymakers in here. But instead, you sit there and scream at, you Democrats have to allow us to have these moderate Republicans in here to derail our agenda. And I'm telling you, the Democratic Party, you need a complete makeover at this point. Chicago, Seattle, talk to you on Tuesday. Minneapolis, St. Paul, hour 2 up next.
Hi, this is Laura. Listen to Food Freedom Radio every Saturday at 8 a.m. or anytime via podcast. Our individual health is connected to the health of each other and connected to the health of the earth. We know the problems with the dominant food system: climate change, deadening soils, nitrates in the water, factory farming, injustice, concentration of wealth. How do we both as individuals and as a community step up and support a living food system which honors the earth? Tune to Food Freedom Radio every Saturday at 8 a.m. and remember to support your independent farmers.
Hello, I'm Todd Mickelson, host of a Satellite View podcast. It's hard to find clarity or focus here on the ground with the fire hose of issues and events. We go up high and look back on Earth from a satellite view, where we can gain our bearings and learn from the past to shoot for a better future. and have fun and laughs along the way. Go to am950radio.com, click the programs link, and find a satellite view with Todd Mickelson.
It's Brad Friedman, your friendly investigative blogger, journalist, and host of the Bradcast on AM 950, KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
AP News, I'm Ben Thomas. Changes on President Trump's team. National Security Advisor Mike Waltz out, but nominated to be UN ambassador. Secretary of State Marco Rubio takes on the role for now, while retaining his current one.
I just heard this from you.
State Department spokeswoman Tammy Bruce.
I have some insights as to the potential of certain things that might happen.
The moves come weeks after it was revealed Waltz added a journalist to a signal chat being used to discuss military plans to bomb Yemen's Houthi rebels. President Trump's threatening sanctions on anyone who buys Iranian oil.
I put sanctions on last night. Any oil that anybody takes from Iran is not allowed to do business in the United States of America. Which is what I did the last time. That drove them into a very bad state.
The warning comes after planned weekend talks on Iran's nuclear program were postponed. A federal judge in Texas has ruled the Trump administration cannot deport any Venezuelans from South Texas under the 18th Century Alien Enemies Act. Donna Warder has details.
U.S. District Court Judge Fernando Rodriguez Jr., nominated by President Donald Trump in 2018, says it's unlawful to use the law against people the administration says are gang members invading the U.S. Rodriguez is the first judge to rule so. In March, Trump issued a proclamation claiming that the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua was invading the United States, and he said he had special powers to deport immigrants identified by the administration as gang members without due process. The judge's ruling is the first permanent injunction against the administration's using of the law, and the judge contends that the president is misusing it. I'm Donna Warder.
Better than expected profits from Microsoft and Meta drove stocks higher. The Nasdaq jumped 1.5%. The S&P rose 0.6, the Dow 0.2. This is AP News.
Confidence is knowing you're ready to handle whatever comes your way. That's what it feels like to take on your workday with Cintas. They make sure your AEDs are up to date, your fire extinguishers are tested and inspected, your floor mats are cleaned and delivered, and your workwear looks good, feels good, and is freshly laundered with the Cintas Apparel Plus program. So are you ready to take on today? Visit Cintas.com and get ready for the workday.
Progressive knows owning a home can be hard, but not always. Like when you're relaxing on your patio, enjoying a nice, quiet evening. So quiet. Except for the sound of the neighbor's party. Which you said you'd go to if you weren't busy. And your quiet night on the patio, that's not exactly busy, is it? Maybe you should just stay inside. At least Progressive's Home Quote Explorer lets you easily compare rates, so shopping for insurance is the easiest part of owning a home. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based.
Everyone wants to maximize their dollar. If you're looking for a new vehicle, the only place to go is Rudy Luther Toyota. Consumer Reports Best of 2025 edition has the most reliable vehicles as Toyotas. The Toyota Corolla, RAV4, and RAV4 Prime top the list of the most reliable cars. And Toyotas are fuel efficient, meaning less money at the pumps. Consumer Reports Best of gas mileage ranking has the Prius Camry, Corolla Cross Hybrid, RAV4 Hybrid, and the Highlander Hybrid top of their classes. Reliability and fuel efficiency, you'll find them both at Rudy Luther Toyota. 5 miles west of Minneapolis on 394.
Greg Bakken here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches, turkey bacon avocado sandwich, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com.
Coming up Friday on The Gailey Show, Jonathan D. Katz, one of the country's preeminent queer art historians, joins us to discuss The First Homosexuals, The Birth of a New Identity, which opens May 2nd at Wrightwood 659 in Chicago, featuring more than 300 paintings, drawings, sculptures, prints, photographs, and films. So join me, John Parker, Friday at 2 p.m., or stream us on our YouTube channel. Follow us on Blue Sky for more progressive news and analysis. We're at thegaileyshow.org on Blue Sky.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for cloudy skies today with a high near 65. Tonight, showers and storms with a low around 45. And Friday, cloudy with a high near 56. Don't miss Sasha Colby's Stripped 2 tour, an electrifying blend of dance, storytelling, and drag artistry at the Fillmore Minneapolis on October 9th. Tickets at thefillmoreminneapolis.com. Listen to The Gailey Show and The Matt McNeil Show all week long to win tickets.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Hour number 2 of the show here on your Thursday. Matt Patrick here. Reminder once again, just a little bit of a house cleaning here. Bruce Klopfleisch is going to be in for me tomorrow. Nancy Nelson is going to be in for me on Monday. I'm taking the long weekend here. I'll be back on Tuesday with a brand new live show. So enjoy brand new stuff for you on these next 2 days. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. I posted a question earlier today, and I would love to get your thought on your or let you just think about it. You're more than welcome to call in 952-946-6205. So yesterday, as a matter of fact, the last few days, we've talked about how Republicans have introduced laws or bills to be passed into law in both the House and the Senate here in the state that basically were written by a hypnotist. I almost said ventriloquist. Well, that would be appropriate. A hypnotist, also appropriate. A hypnotist from Florida wrote these 2 bills, and these bills basically say that if you give someone a vaccine, you can be charged with a crime. Written by a hypnotist from Florida, or at least inspired by, in the case of the Senate. It sounds like the House one was definitively written by the Florida hypnotist. And I want you to say, because I'm pointing this out because I want you to imagine for just a quick second what this state would be like right now if it was discovered that some Democrat introduced a bill that was just going to rename a park, and it was discovered that the bill to rename the park was written by a hypnotist from Florida. That not only would every Republican, and once again, not a medical bill, not a bill about medicine or vaccines or anything like that, a bill about just renaming a park. The DFL has introduced this bill, and by the way, it was written by a hypnotist from Florida. Every Republican in this state would be going ballistic. How dare the Democrats, the DFL, allow a hypnotist from Florida to dictate Minnesota bills? And not only that, but every major news outlet in this state would be running this. Can you believe those wacky, crazy Dems? They would. They would. World War II just finished font above the fold. They would. They would. And then ask yourself the question, how much have you seen? Because Heartland Signal in Chicago has covered this. I believe Minnesota Reformer covered this, but not many other people are covering the fact that the Republican Party of Minnesota have introduced 2 bills, medical bills, into the House and the Senate that were either written by or inspired by a hypnotist from Florida that would make giving certain vaccines illegal in the state of Minnesota. Yeah, you think that someone would cover that. You think that would be something that, hey, wait a minute here. That seems a little bit weird. Yes, it does. It seems like it's not just a little bit weird. It's a lot of bit weird. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. One of my favorite all-time bits from Arrested Development was the cornballer. For lack of, you have to, it keeps showing up throughout the entire run of the show. It was at one point in the 90s, it was one thing that the dad had tried to hawk a la Ron Popeil, was this thing called the cornballer, which was a ungodly, unsafe piece of machinery that gave you like 3rd-degree burns. It was really bad. I say that the reason why I bring that up is because KSTP had a story here. Shark Ninja is recalling more than 2 million pressure cookers sold in the U.S. and Canada after consumers reported 100 burn injuries spanning from a hazard that causes hot food to spew out. The cornballer. According to the recall notice published by U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission on Thursday, Ninja branded Foodie OP300 series multifunction pressure cookers have a lid that can be opened while the cooker is in use. I wouldn't do that. That can cause hot contents to escape the product, posing serious burn risks. You think? Dear God, it's a pressure cooker. Shark Ninja has received 106 reports of burn injuries in the United States, including more than 50 reports of second or third degree burns of the face and body. Yikes. 26 lawsuits have been filed. As a result, no additional injuries have been reported in Canada. An accompanying notice from Health Canada notes. So, yeah, be careful with that. I wouldn't be doing that. Just leave the lid on. You can. It's not like soup where you want to put a spoon in there and take a test. Nope, just leave it on. It's a pressure cooker. You got to let it vent. I love pressure cookers. I do. I got one at home. I don't use it that often, but I mean, as a kid, gosh, I remember how cool it was that you could cook a pot roast in like 2 hours. You know, it was just an old school. It was one of those with the locking tops and it had the little thing. You remember those? Oh, yeah. God, I love those things. Good food, too. 952-946-6205. We got a problem in Rochester. We've got a big problem in Rochester right now. Tizzy the social media poster, you see him on various formats. TikTok is one of his major ones. He also does some stuff on YouTube and other social media pages. He posted a video, and it's actually got some local traction as well now, of a local mom in Rochester using racial slurs in a city park. Because of the attention it's gotten, the video's gone viral, prompting shock from the community and concern from area leaders as Minnesota's third largest city deals with yet another racial incident in recent months. The video that made the rounds on social media Wednesday depicts a man confronting a white woman at a playground at Soldiers Field Memorial Park for reportedly using the slur against a black child. The woman repeats the slur to the man behind the camera, at one point saying the black child took something from her and her toddler. If he acts like one, then he's going to be called one, the woman could be heard saying on the video. Social media commenters that claim the black child is actually a 5-year-old who's autistic. A 5-year-old. A 5-year-old with autism. A 5-year-old with autism. This has nothing to do with anything that child did. This was a woman who was looking to use the word. The Minnesota Star Tribune could not independently confirm the identity of the boy or the woman in the video as of Thursday morning. I will say this. Social media seems to have figured out who it is. I'm not going to say anything. I'll wait for the news media to cover it, but yeah, it doesn't take them long to track people down. And this is going to, yeah. I mean, that's a hate crime. That's an absolute hate crime. The video spread among community social media pages on Facebook, Reddit, TikTok, and elsewhere. Officials within the Rochester branch of the NAACP said Wednesday on Facebook that they plan to investigate and will respond to the incident. We will hold this person accountable for this despicable, racist act against this child, said local NAACP president Wally Elegbendi. He wrote on the post, some commenters called for the woman in the video to lose her job, while others cautioned against leaking her private information or doxing would be harmful for her to her and her child. Okay. Okay. This is the latest in a series of high-profile racist incidents in the community over the past year. In April of 2024, 4 teens spelled out a racist slur using cups on a chain link fence on a pedestrian bridge near Century High School. The Olmsted County Attorney's Office declined to charge the teens, arguing the incident did not meet the legal definition of a hate crime based on part because it wasn't directed at a single person. Oh, that's sure. Last August, State Representative Kim Hicks's home was vandalized with racial slurs and swastikas. A Rochester synagogue was also vandalized the same weekend with similar symbols. The case has been forwarded to federal officials for hate-related crimes against a politician. Rochester officials held several town hall meetings last summer and fall. In response to the bridge and vandalism incidents, several community groups have organized new programs as well, including an initiative between Mayo Clinic and the NAACP that focuses on community support access. But community leaders are concerned the uptick in public incidents are affecting Rochester's residents. Mayor Kim Norton said she received emails from former residents and people outside Minnesota worried over Rochester as a safe environment for their family and friends. The perception is very upsetting. She stressed the incidents stem from the actions of a few. She also highlighted anti-racist initiatives she hopes to see at local events this summer. Let's just call this, this is the inertia of Trump. This is, as Trump goes through, this is the enabling of racists and bigots to take off their sheets and their Nazi gear and just start strolling the streets and telling people what they think. Let me tell you about so-and-so. I want to remind you that is a 5-year-old child with autism. She used the N-word to describe a 5-year-old with autism. That's not, hey, you took that from my child. You need to give that back. It's not yours. You need to give that back. That is, I am looking for any reason to scream this because Donald Trump's America, the only persecuted people are the white ones. And let's face it, the reason why a stunning amount of the people voted for Donald Trump is because they feel as if they can now say that word and there are no consequences. So you want to out this person, you want to call their business, I think that the idea that somebody so openly saying something so offensive to someone else in such a derogatory manner that the first thing you think of, but we have to be nice to them. I'm not sure about that. I also have a theory on why this is happening so much in Rochester. And that is because of the nature of racists and bigots. They're no scaredy pants. They are. There's that great meme that's out there. Your Halloween costume is a Trump supporter. And it's like about how, he doesn't want to take his car, go into the city. I'm not scared, bro. I'm not scared. I think there are a lot of racists who wish they could go into the cities and start going up and down certain blocks and screaming the N-word and the W word for the Latino population, Hispanic population, the F word for the LGBTQ population, the litany of insults you could say to the Jewish population or the Asian population or the Native American population. I honestly think these people wish they could, but they're scared because those people might punch me back. At the very least, they know that there's a decent chance that their super duper pickup truck and license plate might get ID'd off the cell phone footage guaranteed to get out there and have to explain why you were going into the city and screaming bad words. Because at the end of the day, that's the thing, is they know that if it looks really obscene, that they're not going to get away with it. So that's why they look at Rochester. It's at least closer. It's not the Twin Cities. It's not the big metro area. It's got some metro area to it. But that's their safe zone for their racism. I won't go in the cities, but I'll go into Rochester and I'll say and do these things. Exactly. Hey, that's exactly what it is. It's why they'll feel safe in Mankato or Moorhead or to a point St. Cloud or Duluth maybe even, because they feel as if it's not the big city. And the thing that terrifies these guys is all of a sudden they go on out there and they start spray painting swastikas on a synagogue and they get arrested, and all of a sudden they're in jail in that city, in county lockup with those people. They're scared to death of that. So they feel as if they can go down there, and I'll go out there and I'll call the Olmsted County Sheriff's Office. I don't think you did yourself any damn favors when you go on out there and you basically say the clearly racist message that was given by these students, we're not going to prosecute. And I should mention down to the south as well, there was that one incident where like 100 kids from the local school went out there and specifically attacked an LGBTQ teacher and I believe it was a former black student, and went out there and attacked. And of course, that all got swept under the rug because we can't let this hurt their careers. We know we got video evidence of all these people doing it and stuff like that. But you know what? Billy's got a chance to go to college here. I don't think you want to, I understand you're terrified and you're wondering what's going to happen, but they promise they're not going to do it again if you just let this go. And, we're not going to press any charges. And the reason why is that out in these rural parts of this country, I'm not saying this necessarily about anyone specifically, but I will say this in smaller towns, maybe not Olmsted County, maybe not Rochester, but in smaller counties, county attorneys and county sheriffs, they kind of agree with it. I've often talked about how the fact that you can have in a small town the guy that steals $10 million from the local co-op grain elevator is, he was a decent guy and he made some mistakes, but, we shouldn't hold it against him. Meanwhile, they've got 7 police cars pulled outside of the diner because the black family might have taken 1 penny too many from the take a penny, leave a penny dish by the cash register. And until this sheriff gets these answers, I'm not letting anybody go. Put them in cuffs. Yeah. Ta-da. You got, find out who this person is. Let everyone know. And that is basically, I think, the last stand we have is that through social media, through these glowing rectangles that we all carry, we all become witnesses. And so I don't really have a problem with somebody in a public area doing offensive things, getting recorded and being called out for it. Because if we can't bank on prosecutors doing their job or law enforcement doing their job, well, then let's let society take care of things. And, then maybe, just maybe, the next time a person's at a playground in Rochester and they see a minority child, the first word out of their mouth are not a slur. Heaven forbid. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Sasha Colby is coming to the Fillmore in Minneapolis on Thursday, October 9th. It is the Stripped 2 Tour, electrifying blend of dance, storytelling, and drag artistry at the Fillmore in Minneapolis this fall, October 9th. I've got a pair of tickets right now, 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Caller number 5, you'll win yourself a pair of tickets to go see Sasha Colby over at the Fillmore in Minneapolis, October 9th. Good luck. 952-946-6205. We'll take a break. Come on back. It is the Matt McNeil Show here on your Thursday.
Supporting the best local and independently owned restaurants in the Twin Cities has never been easier. You'll find an expansive list of local dining options at eatlocalminnesota.com, from classic American comfort food to authentic flavors from around the world. Specializing in Szechuan and Peking cuisine, the Great Wall Chinese restaurant has been a local favorite since 1981. They offer one of the most extensive menus in the Twin Cities. Favorites include the sesame chicken, imperial beef, and Peking duck. The Great Wall restaurant is located off 45th and France, with takeout available too. More at greatwallrestaurant.us. Nightingale on 26th and Lyndale is the ultimate venue for unforgettable gatherings. Whether big or small, your event will be a hit with delicious food and drinks served in a warm and inviting atmosphere. Plus, Chef Carrie's special creations add that extra touch. Craft cocktails, curated drinks, and a diverse menu make Nightingale perfect for any celebration. More at nightingalempls.com.
Turn to Auto Technical with your vehicle donation. Even though Auto Technical is a small nonprofit, we have helped more families with transportation than any organization in Minnesota. Since '94, we have reconditioned donated vehicles so they have a higher tax benefit. Call Richard at 612-919-5526, 612-919-5526, or autotech.org.
Hi, I'm Rachel Shamblatt. My dad is Dr. Scott Shamblatt from Shamblatt Family Dentistry. A lot of people are afraid of the dentist, but you don't have to be. My dad makes going to the dentist comfortable and even fun. He won't be mad if you haven't seen a dentist in a long time. He just wants to take care of you and your teeth. If you don't see my dad, please see another dentist. Take care of your teeth because they're the only ones you get.
Shamblatt Family Dentistry in Hopkins and St. Paul. Find them online at shamblattfamilydentistry.com or call 1-800-FIX-MY-TEETH.
I started going cold turkey. Well, at least when I'm in the car.
I know I shouldn't do it, but it's so hard to stop. That's why I hide it from myself, so I won't be tempted.
I used to do it all the time. I stopped by locking it in my glove compartment.
My friend used to do it way too much. Now I turn it off when we're in the car.
My solution is simple. I just don't do it.
There are lots of ways to stop yourself and others from texting and driving. How will you stop? Tell us at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Is your teen or young adult withdrawing, experiencing anxiety, or depressive thoughts? They may need a larger team to care for them. That's where Hazelden Betty Ford comes in. Our team of experts help guide with proven mental health and substance use support. You can trust Minnesota's #1 teen treatment center to help your child thrive. Turn to WeGotYou.org to learn more. Hazelden Betty Ford. We Got You. Sponsored by Hazelden Betty Ford Foundation and aired by the Minnesota Broadcasters Association and this station.
Oh, you can play this music all day long, man. It is the Matt McNeil Show. By the way, a big congratulations to Jack in Minneapolis. He has won tickets to Sasha Colby's Strip Tour once again at the Fillmore, Thursday, October 9th. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster once again at the Fillmore, October 9th. It's Sasha Colby, the Strip 2 Tour. Off you go. Have a good time with that. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. An excellent write-up in the Reformer today about Medicaid, because once again, I mentioned last hour, just in the failure of Democratic messaging, that when you have Medicaid, which there was a poll that came out today, 76% of Americans, which means the majority of Republicans do not want Medicaid cut. 76% of the country does not want it cut. 76%. This is a detrimental, a policy initiative that will hurt an insane amount of Minnesotans and people across the country. And where is any Democrat putting up? I mean, you should be putting up billboards in every Republican district saying this person. Maybe I'll even if I can, I'll give you a little preview of something I'm going to talk about here. Maybe you could say something like, "Hey, Senator Julia Coleman from Waconia, she's for cutting Medicaid." I'll get to that here in just a little bit, because she seems to be all for these cuts. She loves cuts from Donald Trump. I'll get to that in a second. But I mean, I'd be putting up a billboard in her town saying she's for this, because if 76% of the people don't like it, this is not exactly a hard sell. Let alone the 4 worthless Republican Congress people in this state who basically are, let's face it, Minnesota 6, Minnesota 7, Minnesota 1, Minnesota 8. How many people are in senior nursing homes in those districts who have their nursing home paid for through Medicaid, who this administration wants to kick them out on the streets. Why you guys aren't going for the jugular, I don't know. But hey, maybe you can sit there and talk about how David Hogg needs to get in line more. Please, you guys are losing it. Anyway, going back to this story. This is, people don't seem to understand. We can talk about the tariffs and trade, shutting down every toy store, the lack of shipping coming into the country, the lack of truck drivers delivering things, how that even if you assemble your product here in the United States, the parts still come from outside the country, how you've lost your ag markets, all these things, how the healthcare and Social Security are operating already far more substandard, that you're laying off veterans, that you're hurting people left and right. The long-term effects of some of this stuff are crazy. The biggest budgetary threat for Minnesota and most states is cuts to the federal Medicaid spending. The U.S. House budget plan proposes to reduce funding for Medicaid and Medicare by $880 billion over the next 10 years. Most observers expect Medicare will be held harmless, and the bulk of the cuts will come from Medicaid. Medicaid, called Medical Assistance in Minnesota, serves about 1.3 million Minnesotans. 1.3 million Minnesotans. It provides health coverage to low-income families and individuals and long-term care for seniors and people with disabilities. And I'm just going to say this right now to all these Republicans out there. No, it's not just minority people, as you try to offset this and say, I don't want to help those minority people in Minneapolis, St. Paul. Trust me, there's a ton of low-income white folks in your district who need Medicaid. They do. Let alone the seniors in your district and the nursing homes. Okay, if the nursing homes aren't getting the money, they're going to close. And even if you're not on Medicare, all of a sudden, or Medicaid, all of a sudden the amount of options you have for a senior living facility are going to dramatically decrease. Republicans. Minnesota spent $18.5 billion on medical assistance in fiscal year 2024. 60% of that funding, $11.1 billion, came from the federal government. Medical assistance is the largest program in state budget and is growing fast due to the rising cost of healthcare and the aging of the population. Spending will exceed $26 billion in fiscal year 2029, a 42% increase over 5 years, according to the Department of Human Services. If the $880 billion federal reduction is spread proportionally across the states, DHS estimates Minnesota would lose about $1.4 and $1.6 billion per year in federal Medicaid funding. And by the way, I should mention this. I'll mention this really quick before I go to break. But the Republicans have already started to try to pitch this as, we're not getting rid of all of Medicaid. We're just cutting it from 80% going to the states to 40%. And that the states need to pick up the difference. So it's not us cutting the Medicaid. It's your local governor who's not raising the money to cover the difference. You see, that's the argument I've already heard multiple Republicans try to push, that it's not them cutting Medicaid. It's the fact that the governors of the individual states did not immediately increase taxes in those states to offset the cuts that they are forcing on those states. Yeah, they're weasels. I'll talk more about that in a second. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Take a break. Come on back. The Matt McNeil Show here on your Thursday.
J&S Bean Factory is a native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
Hi, I'm Corey Wisco, president of the Welshire. The Welshire excels as a memory care community in the Twin Cities, located in Bloomington, and we have a new location in Medina. But what makes Welshire so different is the people that we have working for us. Our team has been together for the past 25 years providing this type of care. We employ some of the most amazing nurses and LPNs that are in the building 24 hours a day. We also have an activity team that is over 40 people. And our scheduling begins at 9 o'clock in the morning for activities, and it goes to 7, 8 o'clock at night. And that's 7 days a week. You won't find that. That is why many of the families that come to Wellshire are actually coming from another memory care facility. Not all memory care is created equally. And that's why I encourage you, if you've had issues and problems at other places, come see what makes us so special. Please visit thewellshiremn.com and book a tour.
End-of-life decisions are not easy to make. Hi, I'm Mary T. of Mary T. Hospice Care. It's important to make sure that this difficult time is meaningful and comforting to you and your loved ones. Our hospice team provides an individualized program of physical, emotional, spiritual, and practical care so your loved one is comfortable and not in pain. At Mary T. Hospice, we understand that choosing the right hospice care provider can be overwhelming, but we're here to assist you. Learn more today at marytinc.com.
This Mother's Day, treat mom to what she wants. The Park Tavern. It's the Mother's Day Brunch Buffet. On May 11th from 10 to 2:30 p.m., treat mom to a fantastic meal of roast beef, chicken, smoked salmon, salads, a full breakfast, and more. $24.95 for adults. Seniors and kids under 12 are $19.95. Kids 5 and under are free, and mom and the kids will love the hour of free bowling with every reservation. And remember, you need a reservation. For reservations, call 952-929-6810. On May 11th, make wonderful Mother's Day memories with the Park Tavern.
Hi, I'm Bruce Klopfleisch. Join me every Sunday at 5 p.m. for Politics Matters. We'll talk about how civics, politics, and law affect you by highlighting a different topic each week. On this week's show, we cover the 18th Amendment on prohibition, discuss a federal case in Texas where the judge ruled against the Trump administration detaining a couple, and I give a warning on fascism. Tune in Sundays at 5 p.m. for Politics Matters with Bruce Klopfleisch to discover why government and civics matter, and podcast the show anytime on your favorite app.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Showers and thunderstorms possible overnight with a low of 46, then Friday cloudy with a high of 55. Don't miss Sasha Colby's Stripped 2 tour, an electrifying blend of dance, storytelling, and drag artistry at the Fillmore Minneapolis October 9th. Tickets at thefillmoreminneapolis.com, but keep listening to the Matt McNeil Show this week for your chances to win.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. So going back to this Medicaid story here, Minnesota would lose about 1.4 to 1.6 billion per year in federal Medicaid funding if Trump and the Republicans kill Medicaid like they so desperately want to do. And by the way, and we should also mention that the fact that Medicaid helps, families of the disabled, there is a very ugly element of that White House and that administration who feel as if funding and helping disabled kids is absolutely out of line. And it is disgusting. It is absolutely disgusting. The actual impact, though, depends on what policy changes Congress adopts. One of the most likely changes is adding work requirements for some Medicaid enrollees. Hey, Grandpa, get out of bed. You got to shift over at Walmart. You're stocking tonight. Work requirements are a bad idea for a variety of reasons. They nicely summarized in this space a few weeks ago. Basically, there are a lot of people that can't do the work requirements. So it's a bad policy, but it also doesn't save a lot of the federal budget. A similar proposal in 2017 was estimated to save $109 billion over 10 years, only a fraction of the $880 billion Congress is now pursuing. It's not clear where Congress will look for additional Medicaid savings, but targeting the expansion population, the new group of people that were added to Medicaid coverage as part of the Affordable Care Act, is a definite possibility. The expansion population, as it's called, consists of adults without children. Prior to the Affordable Care Act, which enacted the Medicaid expansion, health coverage of those low-income adults with a significant gap in the nation's healthcare system. Some states, including Minnesota, cobbled together some basic coverage, but it's difficult to provide broad access to healthcare coverage without federal funding. Dismantling a part of the ACA, also known as Obamacare, may be politically appealing to the GOP-controlled Congress. There would also be no impact on the 10 states that do not cover the expansion group, 9 of which are solidly Republican, including Florida and Texas. So by these states that basically have intentionally hurt their communities by not embracing the ACA, they won't get hurt as bad. They'll still get hurt, but they won't get as hurt as bad as states that have picked that up. KFF, an independent source of healthcare research and news, says one prominent proposal is to end the enhanced 90% federal funding match for expansion population. States could continue to serve the expansion population, but would get their normal rate of federal reimbursement. That normal match rate for Medicaid is called the Federal Medical Assistance Percentage, or FMAP. Those rates vary by state based on capital income, ranging from 50 to 77%. Minnesota's current FMAP is 51.16. If all states continue to cover the expansion population, the lower rate, KFF estimates the federal government could save probably $656 billion over a 10-year horizon. But it's likely probably most states would discontinue Medicaid coverage for the expansion group because they could not afford to make up the lost federal funding. It would cost Minnesota about $1.2 billion in fiscal year 2026 to continue covering the adults without kids expansion group. It's hard to see how the state could afford $1.2 billion a year under normal budget conditions, much less with the looming deficit and the threat of a recession. In Minnesota, 230,000 people would also lose coverage. 230,000 people. That's every district. This population is one of the most marginalized groups in our society. Access to Medicaid has been particularly helpful in providing better access to mental health and substance use services. If this coverage goes away, it puts pressure on counties and underfunded communities' resources. Many people will simply lose access to health care and behavioral health services. Uncompensated care, when people without insurance receive care in an emergency room, for instance, would increase, impacting community hospitals and shifting costs onto people who have insurance. Absolutely. We need to understand that, and this is part of the massive failure in messaging we have in this country. It's not cuts, it's human beings. They say we're cutting this money. No, what you're doing is yanking people off of healthcare, yanking elderly people out of nursing homes, yanking the needed services and medical treatments that disabled families need so they can have a normal life. That's what you're yanking. And what this story does a very good job of is posing the real problem, which is that this is, the Republicans cut it at the federal level. The mentality is, well, then the state should do it. But the same Republicans, whether they're at the federal government or the state level, they're not going to go out there and spend money. They're all of a sudden going to vilify who? So grandma gets to live with you. How come that's a bad deal, huh? So you're not getting a government handout. Well, maybe you should be grateful that you don't get that anymore. Meanwhile, and once again, all of this is to give billionaires tax breaks. Because the only true God to the most Republicans today is a dollar bill. They do not care about Jesus. They do not care about God. They do not care about their fellow human being. They only care about billionaires and millionaires who might bequeath some of that cash onto them. And when they get done with their political career, maybe, just maybe, they'll get a lobbying gig or an executive position gig. That's all they care about. And they will screw you and everyone else over for that. And for God's sakes, if you think that that's a fantasy world, what the hell do you think has been happening in rural America for the last 40 years? Where all those Republicans say, you elect me and I'll make sure your lives are better. Are your lives better? No. But that politician who retired, 10, 15 years ago, he's been working for that large ag processor. He's been working for that mining company. He's a lobbyist in D.C. now. He's making 7 figures, 8 figures. He's not living check to check anymore. But you are. You're just too blinded by the desire to scream the N-word or your hatred of other people to realize the Republicans have been screwing you over the entire time. Another story from the Reform. The Minnesota Republicans held a press conference last week claiming that a program allowing undocumented people to receive free or discounted health insurance would cost the state over $600 million over 4 years. That number is pretty much made up. They just pulled out a number. Because why? Because they have to. I mean, this is like when Brainworm McGee, the Health and Human Services Secretary, goes on out there and says, there is aborted fetus debris in the vaccines. There isn't. But why does he say it like that? Because he already knows he can't win people over unless he adds that exaggerated insanity to that's the real enemy there. It's not just that I don't like vaccines, and I'm paid a lot of money to get people to not trust vaccines. It's the vaccines they'll make you a vampire. You don't want to be a vampire. Haven't you seen the Last of Us? You'll be one of those mushroom people. If you have to exaggerate to that kind of level of degree, that Hillary Clinton is in the basement of a pizza parlor drinking the blood of babies to vilify the other person to make your side look sane, well, it tells you something. And this is it's a miniature version of it. Make up a number because, hey, you know what? I'm for caring for other human beings, but $600 million. Well, it's not $600 million. The Department of Human Services in a statement said that it had 3,378 claims for service costing Minnesotans about $3.3 million as of April 1st during the first quarter. The state budget office projects the cost over the next 4 years for all 4 years would be about $200 million, basically a third of the GOP estimate. Now, sure, there's a lot of cold and heartless Republicans out there who will say, I don't care if it costs 5 freaking cents. Those people need to die before I'll give them a nickel. And that's who Republicans are. Remember? The Christians. Exactly. Oh, and they'll tell you that too, as they sit there and they wave your Bible in your face. They want a dime to feed a welfare family? Not in my watch. This is what we're up against right now. Like I said, anytime the church wants to start chiming in about this stuff, anytime the Democrats want to start going after this stuff, you're more than welcome to it. Do not let us get in your way. Please, by all means, bon appetit. I'll give you a great example of this. This was an article from the Heartland Signal. And just gives you an idea. I mean, this is how they try to sell it. During an interview last month, Minnesota State Senator Julia Coleman, the Republican from Waconia, get away from me, poor people. I don't know. I don't know if she's ever said that, but yeah. She praised the Trump administration's federal spending cuts, which have deprived communities of vital funding for things like domestic violence prevention and early childhood education. Coleman made the comments during an April 1st appearance on the Al Travis Show, a conservative radio program. Coleman said that as time goes on, she is appreciating the administration slashing even more. The longer I serve and the longer I see fiscal notes, the rate at which agencies want to grow and take on new rulemaking and get more funding to keep those programs going, I'm appreciating what's going on in D.C. with them slashing and cutting. So, yeah, Julia Coleman seems to be all on board with killing Medicaid, killing Medicare, killing Social Security, killing all those programs. This is what she said. The longer I serve, the longer I see fiscal notes, the rate at which these agencies want to grow and take on new rulemaking, get more funding, and keep these programs going, the more I'm appreciating what's going on in D.C. with them slashing and cutting. Julia Coleman, Waconia. Grandma, get out of the nursing home. You're wasting my taxpayer dollars, Grandma. Freeze. Sewer system upkeep, cancer research, food banks are just a few areas where cuts have disrupted operators, with more cuts to benefit programs being proposed by President Trump and his allies. Trump has also expressed interest in completely eliminating Head Start and the Federal Emergency Management Agency. Hope you don't have any tornadoes out there in Waconia. But, I mean, Julia Coleman will be out there telling you after your farm and your house has been wiped out by a tornado, how isn't this so much better that you don't get any help from the federal government? Julia Coleman. I appreciate them slashing and cuts, Julia. Earlier this month, Coleman introduced Senate Bill 3292, which would establish a state version of DOGE, which was overseeing much of the federal spending cuts. Elon Musk was leading the agency slashing when his efforts to elect Wisconsin Supreme Court candidate Brad Schmiel failed early this month. He announced this last week. He'd be stepping back from Doge to attempt to mitigate the backlash from government involvement he's done to Tesla. By the way, it sounds like the Tesla board wants him out. Coleman has served as a state senator since 2021. She's seen as a potential U.S. Senate candidate over 2026. The 33-year-old Coleman has expressed interest in replacing incumbent Tina Smith, who announced she will not seek another term in February. U.S. Representative Angie Craig and Minnesota Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan have also announced their bids for the job, as well as Melissa Franson, too, the former Senate Majority Leader. Former NBA player and conspiracy theorist Royce White, former Navy SEAL Adam Schwartz, and former Hennepin County Commissioner candidate. I did not know this. Let's turn that frown upside down, everybody. Former Hennepin County Commissioner candidate Marissa Simonetti has declared their bids for the Republicans. Simonetti is an OnlyFans creator who currently has a pending assault charge for repeatedly throwing a live tarantula at a roommate. Maddie, like, Royce White and Simonetti? Oh, God, this is going to be great.
She going to be banging on the pot? Jesus!
Well, she might be. Not a safe tarantula in the state. Don't get me wrong. I think we all know that if Julia Coleman decides to run, she's all of a sudden, I've got real problems with some of the things that Donald Trump has done. I know I've been an extremist far-right zealot ever since I got here, but now I'm really a moderate. Liar. As a matter of fact, anytime TFL, you want to get out to Waconia and start putting up some billboards saying, Julia Coleman wants to kill Medicaid, be my guest. She loves all Trump's cuts. That's her. You sit back on your tushes and hope that basically you're a smug smile and sassy attitude is all you need. You're going to get smoked. You should be out there going after these people, especially when they put the ball in the tee like it. Because once again, quoting Julia Coleman, the more I'm appreciating what's going on in D.C. with them slashing and cutting. Exact quote. She loves it. Wants to kill Head Start. Loves it. Get rid of FEMA. Loves it. Cancer research. Cut. Food banks. Starve hungry people. And of course, Medicaid, Medicare. Healthcare's for the wealthy only, people. Well, I mean, that has to be your attitude. That has to be your attitude if you want to get rid of Medicaid, Medicare, because it actually is a fairly functioning system. But I'm sure, like I said, if all of a sudden she wants to run, all of a sudden, whoever said I was 100% on board with all this stuff? I mean, you did. On April 1st of 2025, you did. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. We'll take a break. Come on back. Wrap up the show. It is the Matt McNeil Show on your Thursday.
Located just north of 50th in France, the Great Wall Restaurant has provided a delicious taste of authentic Chinese cuisine since 1981. Specializing in Szechuan and Peking dishes, they offer one of the most extensive menus in the Twin Cities. Favorites include hot and sour soup, pan-fried dumplings, and mushu pork with homemade Chinese pancakes. Stop by their Edina location or call for takeout at 952-927-4439. See the full menu at greatwallrestaurant.us.
Women, are you ready to empower your wellness? Join Hypercharge Health and Skin Deep Aesthetics for an inspiring evening dedicated to your holistic well-being. It's Empower Your Wellness, an evening for women, happening Tuesday, May 13th from 6 to 9 o'clock p.m. at 7450 France Avenue South, Suite 240 in Edina. This exclusive event is your opportunity to explore innovative approaches to health and beauty with insights from a panel of wellness professionals. Topics include integrative medicine, personalized concierge care, hormone balance for energy and sexual wellness, aesthetics and body contouring to boost confidence, and support for your mental and emotional well-being. Come learn, connect, and take meaningful steps toward a more vibrant, empowered you. Tickets are just $75, and the full amount can be applied toward a future service. Space is limited, so don't wait. Reserve your spot now at hyperchargehealth.com or call 952-247-4785. Empower your wellness because your health, confidence, and peace of mind matter.
Hey, it's Tom. Even though I don't live in Minnesota, I've spent enough time there to know how quickly the weather can change. One day it's sunny and the next you're preparing for severe weather. That's where solar plus battery storage from All Energy Solar comes in. With this power-saving combination, you'll gain energy independence and stay connected through blackouts, emergencies, or extreme weather. Solar plus battery storage is perfect for rural areas where power outages are more common, or for anyone tired of worrying about rolling blackouts. And with plenty of incentives still available, All Energy Solar will work with you to make sure you get the most savings possible. For over 15 years, All Energy Solar has been a trusted partner in helping Minnesotans move to affordable, renewable energy. They offer the best battery technology and their own licensed electricians and contractors to ensure top quality installation. So stop paying the utility company and start generating and saving your own power. Get a free consultation today at allenergysolar.com.
Did you know Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken airs 5 nights a week at 10 p.m.? That's 5 nights of talking about ghosts, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. We're talking about the paranormal every Monday through Friday with some of the most trusted names in the field. Join us and step into the unknown with Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken, Monday through Friday at 10 p.m. Only if you dare.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. Trump's global tariffs have led to a lot of uncertainty on Wall Street and Main Street, but now a toy store on St. Paul's Grand Avenue is done playing nice. We have everything to lose if this isn't stopped, said Dan Marshall, who owns Mischief Toy Store with his wife Millie and his daughter Abigail. The business has joined 9 other small businesses across the country in filing a lawsuit against the Trump administration, challenging the legality of the president's use of emergency powers to bypass Congress and implement tariffs, particularly the 145% levies on Chinese goods. Something like 80 to 90% of toys are made in China, Marshall said. There are very few companies left making them in the U.S., and this is something that has to been going on for 40 to 50 years. This is not something you can change overnight. While his prices and inventory appears relatively stable now, Marshall can point to several shelves at a popular Calico Critter toys, which represent the last few he'll have in stock for a while. The company just told us they will not be releasing their fall line of products because of the tariffs. It's one of the several companies that we now have already lost access to. Future orders, they said, nope, they're just not going to be available. And with similar calls coming from most, there are about 100 vendors they have. They say stock for the holiday season is a really big question mark. We carry a couple of months of inventory in our basement so that we can restock our shelves, and our vendors carry a couple of months in their warehouses. But after that, it's all just a time inventory. And if that's interrupted, which it has been now, the inventory runs out just after a few months. Marshall says the struggle for small toy shops to survive is also going to hurt a few toy makers that still manufacture in the United States. We just learned that this company, Two Bros Bows, which have been made in the U.S. since the beginning, is closing, holding up some of the toy bow and arrows that they have in the store. They told me they're closing because they've had seen our fewer and fewer toy stores in the U.S. Their sales have been down. They knew the tariffs weren't going to help them. I was like, but our products are made in the U.S., but they said that it wasn't a reason to stay open because they're seeing their own customers basically go bankrupt. It is a nightmare. It is a mess. And once again, all the Republicans are cheering for it and loving it until it's time to run next year. And whoever said I was on board for all these cuts? Well, you did. You did. You were 100% on board. Just don't let them reinvent themselves. And Democrats get out there now and start telling them that you can't reinvent yourself right now. So there you go. Once again, I am headed out for a nice little 4-day weekend. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Bruce Klopfleisch in tomorrow. Nancy Nelson is in on Monday. I will be back with the live show on Tuesday. Have a good one. Native Roots Radio is up next until Tuesday. See ya.
This is Chad.